back on the line with us from Bristol, or maybe now parts unknown, our friend Ed Anderson. Ed, welcome back.
Calling you from the oldest city in Tennessee, Hubert, Jonesboro, Tennessee. We've made it back down Highway 11E to the full-time drive-in here in Jonesboro. Stopped to grab a bite to eat on the way back home.
So you're mobilizing now, as the truckers would say. We
are. We left the campground, the Gentry campground, about an hour ago, and we're just kind of easing our way back towards Knoxville on a beautiful Sunday morning.
7 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock on this, as Ed Anderson said, gorgeous Sunday morning. You're listening to the Hubert Smith Radio Show on 90.3 The Rock, and on the line with us live is our friend, local attorney Ed Anderson, who was in attendance at the NASCAR Sprint Cup race in Bristol last night, where Joey Logano was the winner. So, Ed, tell us about it.
You know, Hubert, they really do a good job putting on the race at Bristol. And, you know, the NASCAR races, they run 8-9 months a year. Really, the drivers don't have much time off. And I think we're so fortunate that the Bristol Motor Speedway is just a 2-hour drive from Knoxville, and really anybody that wants to can go up and see it. They've increased the seating capacity there. It's not hard to get a ticket like it used to be. And, I mean, out of the great sports venues in the world, even if you're not an auto racing fan, it's something you should see at least once. Just about any seat in the stand, you can see the entire race, which is different from Talladega or Indianapolis, where, you know, it's 2.5 miles around, the cars go by, and it's a minute before they come back past you again. At Bristol, you can watch the whole thing.
Well, contrary, or is that not contrary, but you'll help me. Anyway, I go against the stereotypical NASCAR fan. I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I've been a Jeff Gordon fan back when they used to call him the Rainbow Warrior, before it became politically incorrect. And the best thing for me is that he's in first place in the NASCAR standings, and especially that he's ahead of Dale Jr., who I cannot stand.
Now, I think you may be outnumbered. I think Dale Jr. may have one or two more fans than Jeff Gordon, Hubert, but both of those drivers are having good seasons. They're good drivers with good teams, and they're enjoyable to watch. I think they're good ambassadors of their sport, and I really like watching both of those two race.
Well, they are. As a matter of fact, in the standings, I'm looking at the standings right now. Jeff Gordon is atop the NASCAR standings, although both of them, as well as Brad Keselowski, have won 3 races, and Joey Logano as well, including his race win last night. But Gordon is ahead of the points with 845, Earnhardt 818, Keselowski 776, and our man, last night's winner, Logano, was 761. So now I listen to the NASCAR races on the MSN network. I try to, because I enjoy listening to races much more on the radio than I do on television, which is much more of a production. Radio is just more down on the track kind of reporting. But tell us about last night. Were there any big crashes or anything like that, Ed? Anybody get hurt, or anybody get any fights in the pits or anything like that?
No, nothing like that. It was relatively calm for a Bristol race from what I saw, Hubert. You know, a few years ago they repaved the track, and now there are 2 racing grooves at Bristol, and the fastest line now tends to be the high line on the track, where before they repaved it, the cars would just have one good racing line, and drivers would get tired of riding in the same line, looking at the back of the same car, and you might bump a guy up the track, and if he got high on the track, I think the drivers would call it getting freight trained, and 7 or 8 or 10 cars would go by, and next thing you know, you've dropped out of the top 10, and that tend to raise tempers a little. It was a quick race last night. There were only 2 accidents that I recall, and neither one were too serious. Kyle Busch got taken out fairly early, so the folks that root against him were quite pleased. And then there was a later wreck that Danica Patrick got caught up in, but nobody threw helmets or grabbed anybody by the shirt collar or anything like that. It was just a good, hard race last night. There were a lot of good cars up front all night.
Now, I'm waiting to see – I want to see Danica Patrick duke it out with one of the boys one time. What do you think it's ever going to happen?
You know, I have high hopes for Danica. I think she'd be a good ambassador for that sport. It seems like when she races, I think she has more than her share of bad luck. I think last night was a little bit of that. Probably it'll come with experience as well. I remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a lot of trouble those first few years, and